Okay, so a few days ago I watched No One Will Save You, Hulu's newest alien invasion horror movie. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I did not like this movie. There's going to be spoilers in this video, so just fair warning, if you haven't seen it yet and you're at all interested in doing so, now's your chance to go watch it. The movie centers around a young woman named Bryn, who lives alone in a house near a very small rural town. And she's ostracized and hated by the members of the town. And you don't really know why until the end. All you know is that it had something to do with a childhood friend of hers named Maud, but that's about it. And there's pretty much no dialogue at all in this movie, almost to the point where you might start to wonder if Bryn can actually speak. And one night, aliens invade her home. And she spends the majority of the movie hiding from them and fighting them off. Pretty successfully, for the most part. It's a little beyond the point of any kind of believability. But you're rooting for her throughout the movie. There's no question about that. And there's some really confusing things about this movie for me. We have no idea when this movie takes place, but she has a flat screen TV, a fairly modern car, and yet she has no cell phone, and her house has a landline connected to a very old-fashioned rotary phone. And her clothing also seems very archaic as well. So I don't know when this is supposed to take place, and I guess I really don't care all that much, but it was just weird to me. And the movie does not take the less is more approach to showing the aliens. You see them a lot, and I'm not sure why, because there's nothing really impressive about their design. They are the most rudimentary, cliche-looking aliens you've ever seen. I mean, when you think of the term extraterrestrial, this is the kind of alien that you think of. You know, the big eyes, the big head, the skinny body, the standard gray alien. Nothing special about how they look. But their abilities, however, are all over the place. There's one alien that's really small and almost like a chimp, and it seems a lot more feral and aggressive than the other ones. And then there's another gigantic one that has like crab legs and is actually pretty terrifying for the most part, for the short amount of time that it's on screen. And there's the standard, more common version, which is just basically the one I initially described. Just basic bitch aliens is kind of how I would describe them. And they can move things with their mind, and you'd think that this would all be too much for one person with absolutely zero weapons, but she manages to kill a handful of them. It's pretty silly. And I don't know why the technology that these aliens have is so advanced that it's basically ludicrous. That she's capable of doing anything against them is crazy. I mean, they have all this advanced technology, but they can't seem to find her in this house. They can't scan through a wooden door, apparently. She's just able to hide from them whenever she can. And admittedly, that is a common thing in all alien invasion movies. I mean, there's always a way to hide from them and fight them off when there probably shouldn't be. And I don't know why she has zero weapons at all. You would think that if you lived in the middle of nowhere and the closest town was full of people that hate your guts, you would at least have some kind of weapon in the house. I'm not saying it has to be a gun, although it would make sense that because she's like in this hick town that she would have some kind of firearm, but she doesn't. But she doesn't even have a baseball bat or something, anything. Honestly, it was only a matter of time for this dope. If it wasn't aliens, it was going to be someone or something else. She doesn't even have, like, kitchen cutlery. She has a fucking box cutter knife, and that's basically it. It's pretty goofy. Then again, her lack of weaponry might have something to do with her childhood trauma, which we'll get to eventually. Also, the aliens seem to have a parasitic being inside of them. Maybe they produce it, or it's what's controlling them too. It's not really clear. But they pass it on to several of the people of the town, and they take control of them. And they want to do the same thing to Bryn, but she somehow miraculously reaches inside of her own mouth and pulls it out. How she is the only person able to do this, I'll never know. And the movie comes to a head when she finally gets captured and abducted by the aliens, and they examine her brain and see what her trauma is all about, and it turns out that she killed her friend Maud. That's why the people of the town all hate her. And when I say she killed her, I mean she picked up a fucking rock and smashed her in the face with it. This could hardly be called an accident. I mean, you could see that she is the cause of Maud's death. You could see that a mile away. But I never expected it to be this. I thought it was going to be some kind of mistake, or she let her die in some way and could have saved her but didn't. But no, she argues with Maud. We never find out what the argument is about. And Maud pushes Bryn to the ground, and Bryn grabs a rock and hits Maud in the head with it. Now, they look to be about 10 or 11 years old. I'm not really sure. But that's old enough to know to not hit someone in the head with a fucking rock, is it not? I mean, do you know how many times a friend has pushed me to the ground when I was a kid, and even as an adult? It's happened a lot. But I never once got up swinging a deadly weapon. And I know kids do really stupid shit. But this was like almost psychotic. I don't know. And you could easily fix it. Here's how you could change it. When Maud pushes Bryn, Bryn gets angry and pushes Maud even harder, and Maud falls and hits her head on a rock and dies. That's something that could happen to any kid. But then again, maybe that wouldn't be enough for the town to hate her. I don't know. And maybe I'm focusing too much on this, but it annoyed me. And the fact that it's a big reveal at the end almost proves my point, because they had to keep it a secret. If you saw that at the beginning of the movie, I'm not sure you would have such an easy time rooting for Bryn. But after you've seen her struggle and fight for her life and do so well, you have to be rooting for her by this point. I don't know. I just think it was poorly handled. And to top it all off, once the aliens see that this is the reason that Bryn is ostracized by the town, they let her go. I guess they look at her as almost as much of an alien in this town as they are. So they let her go while they continue to take over everyone else. And by the end, she's the happiest she's ever been. And she dances and has a grand time with the new alien townsfolk. I mean, what is the message of this movie? That if you're canceled for a legitimate reason, all you need to do is learn to move on and find some weird aliens who are just like you to hang out with? I mean, I was stunned by that ending. And I'm not saying that Bryn is totally unsympathetic, but they did not do enough to show what exactly happened between her and Maud. She hit her friend in the head with a rock. And I get it. We've all had a moment of like sheer rage where maybe it's hard to control your actions. But you know what? You still pay for those actions. You're still responsible. And I suppose the guilt is causing her to punish herself by staying in this town. So I guess she is paying for those actions, because I think the best thing for her to do would be to move. But she doesn't. I don't know. It just left me scratching my head and wondering what the fuck the point of it was. And for the Dick Rock rating, I'd give it 2 Dick Rocks out of 5. Not really worth your time, in my opinion. It reminded me a lot of the movie Signs, which is not a good thing, at least in my opinion. And it also reminded me of the Twilight Zone episode, The Invaders. You know, alien invaders, no dialogue. Definitely made me think of that episode. The only unique thing about it was the ending. And it was not unique in a good way. Just wasn't my thing. But let me know what you thought of it, or if you have a different interpretation. And stay tuned, because I have a bunch of hopefully fun videos coming out in October. In fact, I may release the first one a little early. It's a commentary for a much better alien invasion movie than this. And that's all I'll say for now. But until then, take it easy.